What up? It's your boy MK, and today I wanted to make a video for newer players to talk about something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough, and it should, because it's really important, and that's fellowship. Now, HeroClix is a game, and games are supposed to be fun. Fun for you, and fun for everybody you're playing with. But I understand not everybody likes to lose. It's still a game that you want to win, and you're playing for a prize most of the times. That being said, you don't want to be the guy that shows up so determined to win that he's playing the cheesiest thing he could find on the internet and everyone groans when they see him. This is why we have something called fellowship. Let's say after all your games, you may have lost a couple games, you pick the one person who was the nicest to you, who didn't cheat you at all, maybe played a really good team that you admired. You show your appreciation to that player by giving them a fellowship vote, and at the end of the day, as a consolation prize, the person with the most fellowship votes can get a prize. So, even though you're not in first place, if you're a nice enough player, other people will appreciate you for that, and you may end up leaving with a cool prize anyways. So, these are some tips that I would give to newer players so that they realize that it's not just about winning, but it's also about making sure you're not ruining the game for everybody else. Now, the first thing that I would say as tip number one, be a fair winner. Be a fair loser. You know, there's nothing worse than someone who loses and they blame it on everything but themselves. It's like, oh, you cheated. Oh, my dice were terrible. Oh, this, that, and the third. No one wants to hear you complain. But on the same token, if you win, don't be obnoxious about it. Everyone who wins the game, it's not because they had a impeccable strategy or they played pieces that were just unbeatable. You may have won your game because your opponent actually did roll a lot of crit misses and was just having poor dice rolls. Or they did that one crucial thing that cost them the game. Keep in mind, we've all been there. We've all made those same mistakes. So don't be that winner that's just all in your face, just overly excited, overly happy that the person that you played against lost. That's a pretty dick move. Don't be a dick. Tip number two, don't play, how do I put this? When I first started playing the game, and I've been playing for a while now, resources became the new hot thing. I've been playing since the Infinity Gauntlet, and when that Infinity Gauntlet came out, people couldn't wait to throw it on their, Thanos piece, their Superman piece. But keep in mind, some pieces don't need resources. So tip number two is, don't put resources on figures or teams that don't need them. And this happens pretty often when you're a newer player. If your team already consists of 2 chase pieces, I'm fairly certain you don't need the utility belt on one of those pieces. Or, let's say you're playing all super rares and it's a pretty solid team as is. If you have an extra 30 points left over, maybe you can put a resource in there. But always keep in mind, is this something that my team actually needs? My guy starts with a 12 attack and a 19 defense. He doesn't really need to have a resource also thrown on top. I mean, how bad do you want to crush your opponent that that's what you would do? If there's a prize you really want, if you're practicing for, Worlds or an ROC tournament, absolutely, you should be thinking of resources. But if your venue said, hey, it's a 300-point game, bring something fun, don't be the guy who shows up with the resource on a piece that completely doesn't need it. Because in their mind, it's just showing that you're here to win. You're not necessarily here to, have a good time. Unless your idea of a good time is slaughtering everyone else. In that case, I don't want to play with you. Anyways, tip number 3. Now, there's a silver bullet for everything. So this next tip kind of can be taken with a grain of salt. But don't build a team that's based around all mystics or all pieces with hypersonic. As a player, it's not fun for me to sit down and see that your whole strategy is for me to hit you until I die. You know what? I'm guilty of this. I've played an all mystics team before when I was a newer player, when I really wanted a prize and I wanted to get the cheesiest thing I could think of at that time. And then, of course, my first round was against a Dormammu, who didn't care at all that I had mystics. So, there are silver bullets to mystics. There are silver bullets to hypersonic, especially with things like plasticity and figures like Turtle. But most of the time, when you build a team based around those 2 abilities, people aren't going to have a silver bullet for that. And again, as someone who's sitting across from you, when you show me your team and it's all hypersonic guys, and I decided to build, a Fantastic Four team with a bunch of pieces that aren't really OP in any way. I know this is not going to end well for me. So don't be a dick. Don't bring hypersonic pieces and all mystic pieces. Don't put resources then on those pieces. You know, those are just little things that I think are courtesy. You know, we all kind of understand the game. We know how it works. And we know what could be considered borderline broken. And then besides that, I would also not like to see something like a Colossal or a Zombie Team Base on a day where the format, again, was just supposed to be something very friendly. You know, end of the day, you can win. You can win with great strategy. You can win with incredible dice rolls in a team that's not OP or broken. You know, so just keep in mind, the purpose of the game is, first, have fun. You know, and also keeping in mind that it should be fun for your opponent as well. You know, nobody wants to be that guy who just knows on the onset that the game is over before he began. You know, that may turn someone into a sore loser. It may turn you into a very proud winner. And none of that's healthy for the game. Fellowship is real. Keep that in mind when you're playing. Don't be a dick. Be that guy when you show up, everyone's like, oh, snaps, Joe showed up. Awesome. As opposed to, oh, shit, Greg showed up. That sucks. Let's all go home. You know, whatever. Just my 2 cents. You guys be cool. See you in the next video. Peace.